If it works.
Is it working?
I believe so. Hold on. It's setting us up.
Okay, cool.
Okay, redirecting to YouTube. Let's see. Are we live? If it works.
I haven't gotten a notification
Wait.
to watch it.
I literally think we're live and now we're just it's meta. It's meta. We're talking about whether it's working or not on the live now. Fuck. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's see.
As we discussed though, Mercury is retrograde.
No, this is the most Mercury retrograde experience that we have had so far. We have been here trying to connect with you all on the web, on YouTube for about 34 minutes. And for whatever reason, like we just didn't have sound. We just like didn't have sound. And then we like didn't even know how to use Zoom. And then we switched to Google and then we were going to do it in outer space. And now here we are on YouTube live with no audience, not even sure that we're here, but we're showing up for you all because you know what? Princess Diana continued to show up, even though she was getting fucking tomatoes thrown at her by her family. But actually, she continued to show up and she persevered, and we will too. So, okay, let me just double check that we're actually live. And then, you know, part of me wants to like send this link to people who, you know, may have wanted to watch half an hour ago. But, you know, it's kind of like Mercury retrograde. Like, we got to just like trust, you know, like this is the journey.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the journey of it. Okay, wait, so let's just see. Is our public... Is it working? I believe it is live now.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that also you're recording, right?
Yes, let me just double check that it's recording.
Oh, and I can record too.
Yes, we are recording. We are recording. We are on YouTube live. This is a perfect chaotic mess that we love to sort through because oh yeah, here we are. Okay, we're live. Yeah. We're doing it. Okay, cool. Fuck yeah. Okay.
Good.
Welcome, you guys. Welcome to Divanation. I actually just before this was like, I'm not going to host, like you host and interview me. And now I just like can't help myself. I'm attacking the up top. Please let me restart. Molly.
No, it's great. Welcome everyone to Diva Divination. This is so exciting for us. It's the first time we've done this and we've been talking about doing it forever. And for some reason we decided to actually do it during Mercury retrograde. I don't know why. I've been having Zoom problems all day. Sara and I have also been having them together. Our charts are aligned in that way. So whatever. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the astrological compatibility of Kristen Stewart and Princess Diana.
It's pretty fascinating stuff. I mean, I didn't know what to expect when we started to look at this because I was like, you know, they really seem to be completely different in every way. And I mean, even when it first came out, I was shocked when that was who they picked.
Yeah, I kind of was too. My initial reaction, so they announced that there's going to be this movie directed by Pablo Larraín, who directed Jackie, that really great Jackie Kennedy biopic with Natalie Portman. And it's going to be in the same vein as that. So it takes place over the course of 3 days. And it's Diana deciding whether or not she's going to leave her family. So my first thought was, this casting makes no sense. And then my second thought was, oh my God, this is the best casting ever. So, I mean, my interpretation was these women are both rebels. They both became stratospherically famous because of the couples that they were in. They really, you know, as feminist as we both are, these women would not have been as famous as they were without the men they were dating, because that's the way that the fame machine works. So Sara, what in these charts kind of reinforces or disproves any of that?
Well, I will say that first and foremost, I had the same reaction. I was blown away. But then when I started watching tape of Diana physically, the first thing I'll say, and then we'll jump into the charts, but when I started to watch her, because I really wasn't that into it as a kid, and when I started to watch the tape of her, and her way of being, specifically like on camera or by his side, actually, I was triggered by Diana in the same way that I am triggered by Kristen Stewart, which is that they both seem to be doing this kind of like...
Yes, that's so true. They're folding in their awkward turtle, just like really like looking up through the bangs, like...
Right!
Yeah, that's so
like
true.
They're both sort of like doing, like they're actually both beautiful women, but the way that it's like look, I am a fat, I'm fat on Adderall. There's something wrong with me. Okay. But I'm out here on Zoom with my shoulders back. Right.
Yeah, you're proud.
I'm a proud Capricorn moon Mars. It's like Kristen and Diana are both like doing this, like, and it's making them look less attractive than they actually are. But it's like this, like, can I be here?
Yeah.
Can I be here? And it's like, ugh. But let's look at the charts. That's just but when I saw that, I was like, oh, I get it. It's a physicality thing. And I would have never guessed that. But I think she was cast first and foremost for physicality.
Yeah, I think also something else I just want to throw in about their awkwardness. And I love Kristen Stewart now, especially after the film The Happiest Season. I would go to battle for her. I would die for her.
Wait, what is it called? I would like to watch. What is it?
Are you serious? Happiest Season. It's the Christmas movie about her. And it's like the lesbian Christmas movie that came out this year.
Oh, I need to watch. I have to say, I really have not been a Kristen Stewart fan. I was so bothered. I didn't love her in the Twilights.
Right.
I find her to be a little bit annoying in interviews. I'm not like a huge fan. I mean,
you will be after you watch this movie. And I was the same way, and the part of the reason why I was not a fan of her is because I was like, okay, you're like basically a child actor. You're involved in this PR relationship. Even if it was a real relationship, it was also a PR relationship because that's the nature of these big high wattage celebrity pairings. So I'm like,
100, she's gay as fuck.
Yeah, but I think it could have been that they also were in love and it was real, but it was also really beneficial for the film. But I was like, so you are engaging in these paparazzi walks. You're starring in the biggest film franchise of that decade for teens. And then you're also like very sad and upset about being famous. Like that made me really angry. And I think it's some internalized misogyny on my part of being like, oh, you want this attention. Like, why are you shielding away from this attention? And Princess Diana was the same way. She was very shy, but it's like, okay, you're engaged to the Prince of Wales. So that's just a side note of something I need to work on of getting women for being that way.
I could not agree more. And we all have a little and right, maybe she's not gay, maybe she's bi, who knows? Who am I to scream, "She's gay" in the internet, But I do think that even in Twilight, that was something that bothered me, even in the theater of it, where I was like, she doesn't seem like she is interested in sex with either of them. Like I just pick up, I'm like here for sex. I love, that's like my favorite part of human existence, maybe. And I'm watching Twilight and I'm going, she's really not like, there's a lot of like face touching and like gazing, but there isn't a lot of heat. And these are all technically animals. So like
she had a very wooden acting style in Twilight. And that was the other thing where I was like, okay, you're not doing these films because you think that because they're Shakespeare, like you're clearly doing it to become a famous actor, but like you seem very tepid about all of it. You know what I mean? But I
could not agree more.
That could be also for a lot of different reasons, but let's get into the
Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Tell me if you can see this. Okay. Okay, so here we are.
Yes, I can
make this full screen. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is so on the inside, we have Kristen Stewart's chart. Okay, so this inner ring, the blue circle is Kristen Stewart. I almost feel like maybe I should put Diana on the inside, but whatever. So this inner ring is Kristen Stewart. This outer ring is the chart of Diana. So the first thing that I noticed, so when you look at charts, usually there's only one of these sort of maps, these little glyph maps.
Yeah.
What I did, this is called the synastry chart. So we're looking at the charts on top of each other. So we're looking at how the planets interact with each other and what energy they either have in common or they have opposite, or they, what are the comparisons that we can make between what's going on for Kristen Stewart right now and how it relates to who Diana was as a person and what she was really doing here on Earth, right? So the first thing I noticed that I was fascinated by. So inside the charts, you can see that there are some lines that are thicker that have letters. Okay. So the AC is Kristen's rising. So if you look at your own chart and you want to know what your rising sign is, AC is ascendant.
And what is a rising sign?
So your rising sign is basically like it was where the sun was on the eastern horizon. It was the constellation on the eastern horizon, the moment that you were born. So it's kind of like this welcoming, costume. It's the front, it's the face. If you think of your life like a pirate ship, it's like the mermaid on the front of the boat. So it's like,
I do always think of my life like a pirate ship. So that is, yeah.
Well, and aren't you a Pisces rising?
Yes.
So you are that mermaid Pisces, like you are, those wispy bangs are Pisces rising, okay? Like that is, so like the pirate, so everybody has that front. And it's interesting too, because like you are such an earth person, like this is just like education now. You're so earth, but you're also like really whimsy and intuitive and like always ahead on trends and all. The reason that you can be both a Capricorn that's like hardcore, like good at work, good at doing the stuff, good at getting it done, good at organizing. The reason that you're so special and like why I've been like stalking you for years is because you have this magical ability to intuit. Like you're always so ahead of you were in galore before it was galore. Like you're always right ahead of trends. You're always sort of like knowing what's about to be the thing. And that's because you're a Pisces rising.
That's because of my mermaid. So what are Kristen Stewart and Princess Diana's rising signs?
So Kristen Stewart is a Gemini rising at, it doesn't even matter what the degrees are, but what you can notice right away is that Kristen Stewart's Gemini rising is almost exactly connected to Princess Diana's descendant, opposite her ascendant. So Diana is a Sagittarius rising. Kristen is a Gemini rising. These are exactly opposite on the zodiac wheel. They're partners. They're a pair. So Kristen is an actor, so she is a Gemini rising, so she can play different parts. Whereas Diana is a Sagittarius rising. She really is just playing this part, even though actually, descendant is how you do relationships. So Diana actually, whether she was married to Charles for real or not, as a descendant in Gemini, she may always either need multiple partnerships or just she needs to come home and talk to someone. She needs to come home and feel like she has someone to understand her and connect with her, because her Sag rising is so all about playing this part of being that righteous leader, that truth, that I am, that, that big light for people. Whereas Kristen's like, am I gay? Am I straight? Am I Bella? Am I, am I the gay Hallmark movie? Like whatever it is, right? So it's a very actor thing to be a Gemini rising. I'm a Gemini rising. So it's like, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. I'm fluid. Whereas the presentation of Diana was more like clear, but at home she needed actually someone to like, understand her multiple parts.
Right. So for people, if anyone wants to understand more about what a Gemini or a Sagittarius is, so a Gemini, Kristen is a Gemini rising. Some famous Geminis are Kanye West,
Donald Trump.
Gemini has a little bit of a reputation as like the sociopath sign, I would say. Definitely. Not my words, the words of the internet. So that's Kristen's rising sign. It's sort of like a really intense way to be. It's sort of a, like you said, all over the place way to be. And then for Diana, for Sagittarius, most famous Sagittarians are pop stars. Britney Spears, Miley Cyrus, Nicki Minaj, and like 3 other big, huge pop stars are Sagittarius. So what is the connection between Diana as a Sagittarius rising and all these famous Sages who happen to be pop stars?
Well, the connection, Sagittarius is the biggest fire sign, right? So when you think about the elements and you think about what makes each element sort of pop or tick or move, fire is passion. Fire is what fire is what moves us. Fire is, it's a powerful sign. It's a transformational sign, right? It's not like so Kristen Stewart is air. So her rising, the way that she appears is a bit more changeable. Sometimes she has long hair, sometimes she has short hair. Sometimes Geminis are changing, Gemini risings especially are either changing their looks or changing their titles or changing their partners or doing things that are a little bit like even the way that Kristen had that affair with the director that she was seeing, right? Also a man, so who knows? We cannot speculate about people's sexuality. It's all the fucking same, right? But it's like, so but that's a Gemini rising. What the Sagittarians have in common and why Diana is a perfect example of a Sagittarius rising is that Sagittarius is the sign of, it's like, whereas Gemini is kind of like asking questions and like figuring it out and like kind of playing both sides. Sagittarius is, and especially Sagittarius rising, which is just presentational in nature, is like the truth, the most passionate, the biggest light, the biggest star. The Sagittarius is like the most righteous sign. Sagittarius is the sign of the philosopher, the thinker, the teacher. It's higher education, it's higher knowledge, it's higher knowing. It's kind of what leads you into your legacy. It's what leads you, you know, it rules the ninth house. It's also long distance travel. It's the globe. It's like adventure. Whereas Sagittarius is, I mean, Gemini is more local, more like, you know, in the community and getting to know individuals. Like Diana going and working with all of those kids in Africa and making her life's work about helping others across the globe. That's Sagittarius rising. Whereas Kristen, being both Bella Swan and Diana, is Gemini rising.
Yeah. So something else that you've told me about rising signs in the past is that your rising sign is sort of your destiny and kind of what you're supposed to rise to in your life. And it makes me so sad that like Diana was a Sagittarius rising, because she sort of entered the public sphere as someone who was put in a certain box. She was like the young English rose. She was like the virginal, perfect princess who they thought would never open her mouth. Little did they know that her destiny was to embody this Sagittarius rising and all these characteristics of a global world traveling, super intelligent, super articulate leader. And I feel like similarly with Kristen Stewart, she was put into this box of, you are the teen queen. You are going to be the girl who everyone ships with Robert Pattinson and everyone's going to love you. And then little did all of the studio head, they told her she couldn't come out because she would never get a Marvel movie.
No.
Like, yeah. And like little did the studio heads know they were dealing with a Gemini rising, somebody who has many different hats that she can wear and somebody who has so many different facets to her personality, right?
Well, and a Gemini rising, it takes one to know one, but as a Gemini rising, you know that when someone tries to give you instructions like you can't be this and be this, we're like, fuck that, fuck you. Like Gemini rising is like, don't tell me what I'm going to be. Whereas Sagittarius rising kind of is this presentational, like it is just this regal presentation. Now, I will say though, that your rising sign, it's not as much as like who you're going to become or who you're, because you do kind of rise into your sun, and your midheaven is your legacy. But what the rising sign, it's almost like the school that you're in. So it's like, it's not that you, so it's not that Diana is a Sag or that Kristen is a Gemini, but so when you're talking about like them elevating into that, what you're talking about is them actually learning how to drive the car, like how to be the front facing version of this. So for Kristen, a Gemini rising, the way to rise into that is that when someone says you can't be both gay and a Marvel star, she's like, watch me. Whereas with Diana, what she's learning to do is actually like stand in her power and stand in her prestige and stand in her sort of royal knowing and really be this authority, even though she actually didn't feel like one deep down, or she kind of at the, right before the wedding, she's like, what am I even doing here? Like she, so this was kind of like trailing her this whole time. The thing that's interesting to me too, about the fact that they are a Gemini and Sag rising, is that on some level, they're true partners. Like when you see someone's chart and they have a Gemini descendant or a Sagittarius descendant, you would say, well, maybe the kind of person that you would want to be with, or the kind of person that you would attract would either have certain planets in this sign or would be just like this, but they're mirrors to each other.
So how are they mirrors to each other?
Well, aside from just the other astrology is actually insane, so we'll move forward. But even just the fact that Kristen is playing Diana post-mortem, to me is kind of like, it's astrologically perfect, because it's like, it's this stretch for Kristen to go, you know what, I can play the person that I actually need to be with. or I can play the kind of person, like the kind of person that Kristen would want to be in a relationship with is like Diana. And the kind of person that Diana would want to be in a relationship is like Kristen. Like Diana can have this regal front, but Kristen will go and find out what's really going on. Whereas Kristen can have this kind of like all over the place, wacky, like exterior where she's, you know, challenging people and she's in, she's out, she's this, she's that. But deep down, what she really wants at home is someone to just like, you know, be with completely and actually see her fully, to be on this bigger adventure together, that it's actually not about being segmented. It's about really being holistically, like you're perfect the way you are. So they really match in that way. And they're mirrors of each other in multiple ways. Okay. So the next thing that's worth noting.
Yeah. So we've gone through their rising. So just to recap for anyone who's just come in. So Kristen is a Gemini rising. Diana is a Sagittarius rising. So now do you want to go into their sun signs? Because that's what people consider to be like, what's your sign? This is what that would be.
Yes. And just a quick note, if you want to know what this looks like on the world stage, you know who else are a Sag Gemini rising pair?
Who?
Joe Biden and Kamala. So take a look at that, right? So Joe Biden is a Sag rising. He's this stately old man. He's like, I've been around the block and I know what's what. And even if whatever I've done in the past, you can trust me because I have been here on this regal pedestal. And I've run for president so many times. Like he has such a singular track focus. Like Joe Biden, it has been running for president for his whole fucking career. And we trust him now as this like stately older man, as this just like regal sort of T with, you know, truth with a capital T leader. We think he's a good dad. We think he's a good partner. Whereas Kamala, you know, she's funkier. She's got her Converse on. She's been a prosecutor. She's a woman. She cares about the individual people. That's a Gemini rising.
Multifaceted. Also, like even with Kamala, there are certain things in her past that people are not crazy about, and I guess it sort of shows that. I mean, hopefully, maybe that's a different identity that she has like shed in the same way that Kristen Stewart has shed the teen queen identity. I don't know.
That's exactly
kind of summing up.
That's exactly right, though. That's exactly right. That like a Gemini rising is going to have a bit of a past, or at least something that you can point to go, well, you were acting differently then, or you were acting differently then. You were acting crazy then. Whereas like Diana wasn't even allowed to act crazy. If the craziest thing she did was be bulimic, which is not that crazy and totally fucking private. Like she really could not act out. And the one time she did. What'd you say?
Also, like she could have done something actually crazy and she didn't. Yeah.
She didn't. She could have been a fucking nightmare for them. And she was like such a class act. Like, goddamn. Yeah. Okay. So now moving forward, sun signs. Another very interesting connection. Okay. So first of all, Kristen Stewart's sun is at the degrees, I guess, don't really matter, but she's at 19 degrees Aries, okay? Kristen is an Aries sun. Well, would you look at that? The IC of Diana's chart. So these thick lines in the chart, whether it's the AC, the DC, the IC, the MC, these are really important. These are called the angles in your chart. And so if you have connections in a synastry chart with other people's, either like, so like this would be like the angles are connected. There's fate involved. Angles in synastry represent fate. So with them, immediately I'm like, oh, this is a fated relationship because the AC and the DC are like almost completely aligned. Now we look at Kristen's sun. Whoa, another one. It is directly aligned with Diana's IC. What is the IC? The IC is the base of your chart. It's the bottom of your spine. It's the midnight position when you were born. So the IC is really like what home means to you, who you are at home.
Like your root chakra.
Exactly. It's the root of your being. It's like and it also represents how you do family, what your home life is like, what your childhood home life is like. So what's so interesting is Diana's home life, like Diana at her core at home was an Aries, meaning that not only was she the first of her kind, but she was very lonely. She spent a lot of time at home alone, even when she was like in her world of being a Spencer, like before she even became Princess Diana. Now that I've been like researching hardcore, it's like it seemed like she was kind of left to her own devices. She was the youngest in this family. She was really left to her own devices in terms of like finding fun and finding play. She sort of even though she had sisters and friends, she was lonely and she didn't really connect with this. I mean, I think part of why she was such an unbelievable princess is because as someone who grew up feeling so alone, her life's work, the opposite of your IC and Aries for Diana is the MC. So her midheaven, her legacy, Diana's legacy was in Libra. Okay, so her legacy is in Libra, meaning I connect all the people. I'm here for the people.
And
Now,
like
what's really
justice and equity and things like that.
totally, and I care about bringing people, like her whole thing with the way that she raised those boys, and God bless her, but she was like, I'm going to show them the world. I'm going to show them that there are real people with real issues, and it's not you guys. Like there are real. So what's really fucking, and it's a humanitarian. She's a humanitarian, right? But check this. So Kristen Stewart's son is in Aries at the base of Diana's chart. So Kristen's solar energy, even the fact that we have so many fucking judgments of her and we hate her, and and she also is this bisexual Hollywood star who they're going, no, don't be yourself. And she's like, fuck that, I can only be myself. That's very Aries sun. And it's right on Diana's IC. So Kristen's radiant energy is actually perfect to play Diana at home and in these contemplative days, because actually without trying, Kristen's your sun is your solar energy. It's your radiant energy. So Kristen's solar energy is immediately connected to Diana behind closed doors.
Yeah, that's really cool. And another reason why I think Kristen Stewart playing Diana is so poignant and awesome is that Diana was, such a big activist for gay rights and for not having a stigma associated with HIV and AIDS. And she did so much work in that at a time when it was not popular to be working on that, because I think people forget that now it's like, Elizabeth Taylor's Amphar Gala every year was like the biggest thing in Hollywood. That was not always the case. There was a time when Princess Diana and Elizabeth Taylor were the only celebrities who would touch HIV/AIDS with a 10-foot pole, and Diana was going into hospitals and hugging HIV patients.
Yeah.
And at a time when people were terrified of it. So Diana has this legacy of sort of opening the doors to look at the stigmas that people have against gay people and LGBT people. And Kristen is someone who is part of that community. So for her to be stepping into that base that Diana created, it's like so poetic to me that she is the one who is playing her in this film, because
there's even, and you don't even know, poetic is the word, and there's even more poetry to glean from these charts, but I could not agree more. Like, what an interesting, as like a baseline place to start, aside from the fact that they're mirrors of each other's like front and partnership axis. Then Kristen's solar energy is like the embodiment of the life work of Princess Diana. I mean, that is so beautiful. And then if you look at the flip side of it, it's like Kristen's moon is in Libra. Diana's midheaven, her legacy is Libra. So Kristen on a solar level is connecting to who Diana really was. But who Kristen really is, so Kristen's moon, which is her inner self, her feelings, her emotions, what drives her, what she needs to feel safe, her intuition, is directly connected to Diana's midheaven, meaning that, like, in a way, this is Kristen's way of, it's like Kristen's version of doing what Diana did is almost like to play this part. Kristen, at the end of the day, as a Libra moon, she just wants balance. She wants a boyfriend and a girlfriend. She wants to be able to be bisexual and a Marvel character.
She doesn't want labels. She wants to be able to be who she is and not have people snap judge her. Right. And also, she is part of Hollywood royalty at this point. I think we can agree she's an A-lister. And so for her to be playing a role that is sort of, some people would argue, a conventional role. It's a straight white rich woman who was born into the aristocracy and married up even higher. It is not, like, it's not the kind of thing that is like underrepresented in Hollywood. But
right, it's not like particularly edgy.
Right, exactly. But for her to be playing it, it is making a statement, and it is continuing sort of the work I think that Diana started, which is, like we said, to just like break down those boundaries and sort of put your money where your mouth is with your work.
Totally. Well, and it's also this, I think, this expression of Kristen really saying, like, I am everything. And so it's like, on the one hand, she's like this teen, whatever, like it is just such a departure for her normal roles. It's so far away. Like, no, when that casting was dropped, I was like, no, what? I'm like, who paid for this? Like, I was like, there must be something going on, because I couldn't even imagine Kristen having this in her. But now, even just looking at this chart, and then that picture where she's doing the like mannerisms of Diana, like that picture with the hat and like the one you use. I mean, it's like she nailed it. Like, I already know she fucking nailed it. And like, it's so beautiful. But it's like, really, Diana's career and legacy is very permission giving to Kristen, not only as an actor and as someone who's allowed to be different and allowed to be gay and allowed to be like, accepted into this world where she's not traditionally supposed to be accepted into, but on a deep soul level, Diana's career, it's like Kristen, and not, we can get to Kristen's career in a second because there's another fucking fascinating connection, but it's like Kristen in her heart does, like, ultimately what she wants to create in this life and what she's here to do is to make peace, is to bring harmony. And because of the circumstances under which she was born, her way of making harmony is actually to be more, is to act out in those self-affirming, she's an Aries sun, so she's going to act how she wants to act. Whereas Diana didn't totally have that privilege, but she got to kind of do her career the way that she wanted to do her career. And so that's where there's this beautiful intersection where Kristen's like, yes, I can be that. And Diana is like, hey, I made this space for you. And so there's this nice synergy here. Now check this out.
So can you tell us about Diana's son? I don't think we got there yet.
Oh no. Okay. So Diana's son. So this next. So just to reiterate, Kristen's sun is on Diana's, I see the base of her chart. Kristen's moon is on her midheaven, the legacy of Diana. So really, she's meant to play Diana. Okay, now let's look at Diana's sun. So here we have Diana's sun in Cancer with her Mercury. Okay, so just on a basic level, Diana is here to play mother. She is here. I mean, that her Cancer is so strong in her chart. Like, not only was she the one that they immediately picked to be, like, it's the way that I understand the story, when Philip, so like the minute that he spent time with Diana, he basically pressured Charles to marry her. He was like, that is that Cancers are the queens.
They thought she was like this unsoiled, unsullied, pure aristocratic girl. Like, and that it was full on, like, talk about your virgin whore complex. Like, she fully embodied that virgin to the eyes of the outside world at that time. But the crazy thing about her is that on first glance, that's what she seems like. Like, she seems like the Cancer, the mother, the virgin. But on the inside, yes, she was a very caring person, but she was not like a shrinking violet. So what in her chart shows that? Anything?
Yup. Okay, so why is that? Because she is an Aquarius moon. So Diana's moon is in Aquarius with her south node. Now talk about connections. Remember we were talking before about Diana's MC and Kristen's moon? Well, check out Kristen's MC on Diana's moon. You die. So what does this mean? Okay, so Diana is a Cancer sun Mercury. She is presenting as mother. She is presenting as nurturer, as caregiver, as queen, as very regal, as divine feminine, right? Her moon in Aquarius. So Cancer is water. It's represented as sort of like the ocean. It's the waves. It's the tide. It's intuition. Aquarius is the water bearer. So Aquarius actually, and especially when you have Aquarian moons are known to be a bit detached and a bit like not emotional, a bit flat. It's not that Aquarians are not emotional, but if you think about what the archetype is, it's an air sign, but it's the water bearer. So the Aquarius energy is there to hold water. So even though Diana presents and represents and is becoming more and more water and mother and earth and like here to nurture, part of why, number one, she can handle doing all of this major humanitarian work is because her emotional self, like actually, like Kristen's Libra moon is much more sensitive than, and so Diana's career, which is very sensitive, speaks to Kristen's Libra moon. But Diana's Aquarius moon with her south node, meaning her past life expertise, it means that on some level, she's a bit emotionally detached from the collective. So not only is her moon, Aquarius is the collective, it's the globe, it's all of the people. We have 5 planets in it now. Aquarius is this sort of like, it is the humanitarian, okay?
And it's Age of Aquarius. It's like hippy dippy kind of like change the world.
100%. It's like bring people together, harmony and understanding, like totally new ways of thinking about things that are, it's like revolutionizing the traditional. It's creative genius, okay? So Diana's South Node, meaning her past life mastery, and her moon are coming from Aquarius, meaning that they're coming, and in Diana's chart, it's in the 2nd house. So that's like her money. So she comes from aristocracy, and she is here on Earth really with this ability to work with so many different kinds of people. And like, it's not like she was going to AIDS patients and giving them hugs and then crying in the car after. She had this ability to sort of like, to make it business. Like Aquarius moons can make it business. They know that they're there to hold space for the feelings. So Diana can represent those feelings, but then on an internal level, the reason she can handle all of that heavy work is because she's not that affected by it. She's more interested in doing that collective service work. The other interesting thing about an Aquarius moon is that an Aquarius moon would be okay with having a 3rd in the marriage. Aquarius moons don't need that much attention, affection. They're not that cuddly. They don't need you to text them back. So that's why, like, when you read stuff like Diana didn't want a divorce. She was actually fine with just a separation because at the end of the day, she knows that she's up to bigger things.
And she wanted to co-parent, and that was more important to her than really having the romance and everything.
That's because she's an Aquarius moon with her South Node there. But this is MC for Kristen. Kristen's legacy. I mean, look how close this is. And Kristen's North Node and Kristen's Mars. Okay, so Diana has her South Node and her moon in Aquarius, past life mastery and feelings, emotions, who she is really inside. Directly aligned with Kristen's North Node, meaning that the purpose of Kristen's iteration on this planet Earth, her drive, her work ethic, what she's here to do, and her midheaven, the legacy of her career in Aquarius. So Kristen is meant to be a star in the public and do this public shifting of image and this public, like, she's not here for one person. She's here for the people. Diana was too, but it's just in a slightly opposite, like the way that it expresses is slightly opposite. What's interesting though, too, is that this is a nodal reversal. The nodes are fate. The nodes are fate points. So when you have a South Node in Aquarius like Diana, that means that you have a North Node in Leo, right? And when you have a South Node in Leo like Kristen, you have a North Node in Aquarius. So so they were born under the same eclipse cycle, but opposite. So like right now, for example, the eclipses are in Gemini and Sag, which is also fabulous that this movie is coming out and being cast during this Gemini Sag eclipse cycle. But the next time we have eclipses in Gemini and Sag, the nodes will be flipped because that's what, it's like every 18 years they switch, they come back around, right? Yeah. So what this means, like in layman's terms, is we're talking about nodes. The purpose of Diana's life was actually to North Node in Leo with her Mars and Uranus. She was meant to actually become the star. She was meant to have a big explosive something. Now, Uranus being there with her North Node in Leo with Pluto, with Mars, I mean, there's a lot of energy here. The other thing too is that this Uranus is exactly opposite her moon. So there was something up with this chart from the beginning. Like if you look at just Diana's chart, it's not that surprising that she would have an untimely early death just in terms of the astrology of it, because she has all of this 8th house action across from her second house in Aquarius. And so when you have an 8th house Leo, you know, with Uranus there, with Mars there, with your North Node there, you're kind of meant to uncover dirty secrets because of your feelings and your work brought out. 8th house wants to hide things. Leo is like, this is me. I can't hide anything. So Diana's coming from the original perspective of needing to play nice and needing to keep up a facade and actually being very comfortable doing that for the aristocracy and for the people and for the public. But her life's work actually was to, I mean, not to say that it was to die in a fiery car crash, you know, early, but kind of, because there was nothing that she could do past what she had been doing to actually wake up she woke up the world. I mean, I wasn't even into Diana, and her death was like, I mean, I like remember where I was like it was fucking 9/11. Like it's one of those things.
The other thing that is really interesting about what you say about her having her moon in Aquarius and being the water bearer is the big issue that the royal family had with her is an issue that the royal family continues to have and will continue to have, which is that they are figureheads who cannot actually take action. So they're supposed to just be there and sort of give an imprimatur of class and, you know, responsibility to whatever situation they're in, but they can't actually help. And so toward the end of her life, she was finally out of the royal family and she was finally able to actually help. She was able to actually go down to speak about landmines. And when she was down there, it created this whole kerfuffle in Parliament where everyone was like, well, you know, she's on the side of the Labour Party because they're anti-landmine. And she said in an interview, she was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. There is no political party when it comes to landmines. It's just get rid of landmines. But so that was her undoing, was the fact that she was so action oriented that she couldn't be in this role where you are the most famous person alive, but you're also extremely passive and you can't actually do anything.
And it's interesting too, because, okay, so when we look at the nodes in a chart, it's kind of like if you don't evolve as a person, if you do like no spiritual healing, if you are not tapped into yourself, if you do nothing but ride out your life on your South Node, you will have enough past life expertise and comfort there that you'll be fine. You just might have to come back and do this Mario life level over again, right? But if you do your Dharma, which is like, so your South Node's like your karma, your North Node's your Dharma. So it takes a little bit of work for us to lean into our North Nodes because our South Nodes like are so easy to just do, you know, and like we just, so for her to be in the aristocracy and for her to just command the public's attention and for her to be this sort of like star without a cause, very easy for her. She would have even handled being the third in a marriage just for like a little attention, you know, but actually her life's work, her North Node is in Leo. So not only was it her purpose for her voice to be heard, but Leo is the sign of heart. It's the sign of like big heart. It's the sign of really caring. It's the sign of self-expression and you know, everybody has a right to be like cared for and safe and nurtured. It also is the sign of childhood. It's the sign of being a child, of children, of having children. So her North Node really was to come out of the like ether of Aquarian, like this sort of like removed Aquarian energy. Even the fact that she got married at like 20 is very Aquarian because it's sort of like, hey, this like cuckoo thing is going to happen to you, but like, it's not going to be about love. And she's like, all right, whatever. I'll be famous, whatever. That's like very Aquarian South Node moon. She literally was like down to get married to someone who she didn't know. I mean, they met like a few times before they got married. It is kind of wild, right? Yeah. But really the purpose of it was that it was actually going to be such a challenge to her in every way, in terms of her emotions and in terms of her Cancer sun and in terms of her actually feeling that let me just see something real quick. Her Mars, yeah, okay, so her Mars is at 1 degree Virgo. That's what I thought. So her Mars and her Pluto are at 1 degree Virgo, meaning that like she's here on Earth to actually physically do something about it. Virgo is like, edit that shit. So Leo is like, these are the feelings, these are the emotions, this is what the children need, this is what the people mean. There are landmines, there is news, like we need to care. And then that was Diana's life's work to like bring attention to the heart-centric, child-centric issues, the love issues, the heart issues. But then her Mars in Virgo with her Pluto right there, she was meant to do something about it. She was meant to take action. So say like what you're saying, it actually makes sense for her to have been cut off from the royal family in the way that she was, because it actually did allow her more of a platform to actually do something as just a humanitarian versus being like your royal highness who's not allowed to really participate.
And also, that was ultimately not something that benefited the royal family, because it's the same with Harry and Meghan now, is that it sort of highlights the way that the royal family is constitutionally bound not to take action. And it's not their fault, but they really just can't do stuff. They can't do stuff. They can show up places and say hi to people, but they can't get things really done. So that was something that I feel like really ended up shooting her in the foot. And I want to ask you about, because one of the other things that Kristen Stewart and Diana have in common that a lot of people don't immediately make the connection is infidelity scandals. So Kristen Stewart obviously had that very high profile scandal with the director. What was his name? It was Rupert Sanders.
Yeah, Rupert.
2012, she was dating Robert Pattinson, and she got caught canoodling with the director of Snow White and the Huntsman, Rupert Sanders. Now with Diana, we all know obviously that Prince Charles cheated on her and got caught telling Camilla that he wanted to be her tampon, which if you didn't know about that, did you know about that?
It's funny, I actually didn't know about that, but I saw when I was like researching last night, I saw a YouTube like caption that was like tampon gate or whatever, and I was like, no idea. I was like, just not even gonna go there. But that was his sext. That was his sexy talk to her. I want to be your
they were on the phone, and he was like, I wish I could be your tampon so I could be like in your pants forever, and then like I'll circle the drain or something. Honestly, it's like kind of endearing that he literally loved her that much that he's like, because I've never heard of it, no one wants to be my tampon.
No,
but anyway.
No, I will say that, like, I mean, I feel it has been interesting looking through all of this. And honestly, we might have to come back because we should look at Camilla, and because Camilla was also a Cancer, and Charles was a super Scorpio. So,
and he's a Leo rising, which is crazy because he's been waiting to be king for literally his entire life.
No, he just can't wait, and it might not ever happen.
I know. But so the thing is, Diana also cheated on Charles, which a lot of people forget because obviously he did it first. He was like, she was pretty sure that he was cheating on her, like up to and including the night before their wedding. So she had a few different lovers. And like you said, it was her intention to maybe stay in a co-parenting relationship, stay as the queen, maybe eventually the queen, but definitely still part of the royal family while being with other men. And there were some really scandalous moments. Like she got caught, she kept calling this guy's house over and over again and hanging up. And the wife kind of like called the cops, and they realized it was coming from Kensington Palace. Oh
my God, she is a Cancer.
Yeah. And that was a big scandal. Like she was a very not when she first was with Charles, she was very into him and she really wanted to make it work and she really tried. And then when she was with other guys, she was fully head over heels in love with them. But so my question is there anything in their charts that points to these infidelity scandals? Because it's not just that they were being unfaithful, it's that they were being unfaithful and they were getting caught. And it was big scandals on the front page of every tabloid when both of these women got caught. So
I mean, there's a lot in both of their charts that would point to it. But the thing that I think what I would like to answer that question with, and it was something that I wanted to bring up before we wrap it up anyway, was that if you take a look at both of these charts, both women have their Saturn in almost the exact same place in Cap, right? So wait, let's just get what it is. Okay, so 24 Cap is Kristen, 27 Cap is Diana. Okay, so they basically have the same Saturn.
Their Saturns are in Capricorn?
And their Saturns are in Capricorn.
And Capricorn, right?
What'd you say? Well, Saturn just left Capricorn. So Saturn was in Capricorn for the past 2.5 years. Good work, Molly. But now
is Saturn the ruling planet behind Capricorn?
Oh, yes. Saturn rules Capricorn. Yes. And Capricorn is the public. Capricorn is the the right way of doing things. It is the government. It is the patriarchy. It is the monarchy. It's everything public. It's ambition. It's masculine, to whatever degree.
Framework. It's like the framework and hierarchies.
Yes, exactly. And it's very into, it's ambition. It's very into going up the ladder. Okay. Saturn represents though our karma. It represents an area where we struggle, or we find that there is, everyone has a Saturn return where there is some kind of a collapse in their own personal world, which, we kind of then pick up from the rubble and then move forward with our Saturn lessons. But Saturn are the lessons that you're here to learn so that you can really rebuild and do your work in the world with this kind of, it's like, it is your karma. It's like, you need to figure this out. You need to carry this weight and figure it out. I mean, it's even like for the two of us, I'm pretty sure we both have our Saturns in Sagittarius. So it's like, here we are, we're like basically teaching people in a way that feels like a party. Like that's like, we want to give everybody information and have it be fun. And that's a very like, that's Saturn in Sagittarius. And also for the two of us, we've sort of like also bucked the system. We've been a little bit like follow our own path. That's very Saturn in Sagittarius. It's like, is there a place for us? And it's like, no, you have to make the place for yourself. Saturn in Sagittarius, right? Like you are the big flame, recreate the belief systems, right? For these two, they both have, aside from just having the nodal opposition, which is phenomenal, like they actually have reversed north node, south node, meaning that like one's purpose is the other's fate, like, and it's like one's purpose and fate is where the other is coming from, and vice versa. Like one's karma and one's dharma are flopped, but then they both have their Saturn in Capricorn, meaning that something that they are struggling with, something that they're here to reform, and what they're here to actually do in this life is rebuild in the area of Capricorn. So for Diana, hers is in her first house. So she has this Saturn in Capricorn in her first house, making her a public figure, putting her up against all these rules and making it really impossible for her to actually feel really free. Then as she got older and as her life changed, she actually started to go, fuck this. I'm going to be exactly who I want to be in public. And I'm going to do my own thing in public. And I'm going to take back my power. And I'm going to be my own force of government. And then ultimately that is part of what killed her, that she actually was then too alone taking care of herself. Very first house Saturn in Capricorn. In the exact same place in the sky, Kristen, when she was born, she also had her Saturn in Capricorn at like the exact same place. And I mean, they were not born, I didn't do the math, but like they're not the same age. They're 30 years apart or whatever, right? Yeah. So it's like just a coincidence. But so now Kristen has her Saturn in Capricorn in the 8th house. The 8th house is secrets. The 8th house is things that we know that we're doing, but we keep to ourselves, or that we, it's the occult. It's things that we are working with behind closed doors. It's things that are not meant for the public. So Kristen's Saturn in the 8th house in Capricorn means that she got, the big scandal. And then she has also her Uranus and her Neptune there. So Uranus is like, boom, lightning fast, changes everything. Neptune is like, this makes things fuzzy, this makes things foggy, right? So for Kristen, she got seen like by a paparazzi where she was like in a bush, like making out with the director on that like bridge thing. They were like in a bush, like by that bridge over the water or whatever, and they were like kissing, and the paparazzi, you know what photo I'm talking about, where it's like,
yeah.
Okay, so she was trying to like be discreet, in whatever way, and yet the pops found her, and then she got busted. Her relationship blew up. She became a fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
like Scarlet Letter. She became a pariah in Hollywood. Like blacklisted her. Yeah, she really didn't work for a little while after that.
So they both are feeling the weight of this Saturn in Capricorn, being like, wow, we're a part of the structure of the public. We have these public lives, and yet they don't really work for us. And even if we're the scapegoats or we're the guinea pigs for these social changes, ultimately part of our life's work for both of them is actually rebuilding how we do our relationship with the public and rebuilding how we see these public figures and how we relate to these. Like, actually, after Kristen Stewart, it's not going to be that big of a deal for someone who's bisexual to be a Marvel character or whatever it is that she wants to create in this life. And after Diana, it actually, I mean, the way that we think of the royal family in and of itself has changed completely. I mean, she gave us real perspective that we would never have gotten otherwise.
But here's the thing with both of them. I would argue that Diana, yes, she definitely shed light on things that we didn't previously think about the royal family. Well, we all knew it was really stuffy and conservative, but we didn't know what would happen if someone married in and tried to kind of like buck all of those trends. And it didn't go well for her. It didn't end well for her. And now for Kristen, like, I don't know if she's fully come back from her scandal either, because I think if Kristen Stewart had followed the studio's advice and stayed in the closet, and if she hadn't gotten caught cheating on Robert Pattinson, I think her career would look really different right now. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. She would probably have she would have done a Marvel, and she would have done, so it is unfortunate, but I feel like they both have rebelled, and like, yeah, they helped change things, but like, it still hasn't caught up with them.
Well, but here's the thing, right? So here, quick question, as an expert, how old was Diana when she died? I should have looked.
She was like 37, I think.
Okay. So she was 37. Kristen is just finishing her Saturn return. So I actually think that you're totally right that, they were both these rebels. They did kind of buck the system. They did say like, buck the.
And they were punished for it, is the thing.
100%. And that's a very Saturn and Capricorn thing, right? But it's like Kristen has a shot, because I think that this Diana movie is actually the thing that is going to put her back on the map. And right now in the collective, like in the sky, I said we have 5 planets in Aquarius. Like we're in this Aquarian age now, and Saturn has moved out of Capricorn. So for the last 2.5 years, we've actually been seeing Kristen go through the worst of it in terms of like her life and what is really possible for her until now. So she hadn't had her Saturn return yet. So it seemed like up until this point, she maybe really had
just art house movies. She was doing smaller stuff when she was on a trajectory before that scandal to be the next big, huge A-lister. And so you're saying now with her Saturn return and with this film, maybe it's going to take her to that A-list stratosphere. I
think it's going to big time, because Kristen has her North Node and her Mars and her midheaven in Aquarius. So right now we have Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Mercury. We have all of these planets in Aquarius now. And this whole year is going to be this big Aquarian breakthrough sort of moment. And Kristen has her Mercury in Taurus. Okay. So there's also this square going on in the collective all year between Taurus and Aquarius. So I actually think this is a breakout year for Kristen. I think from now until 2023, we're going to see Kristen is going to have to Mars North Node in Aquarius fight for it. She's going to have to nail this role, and she's going to have to show up and answer for herself and be she has to reemerge as a representative for Kristen Stewart, who is that A-list actress, but she will, and she is going to return and be bigger than she ever was before after this movie. And I literally think this movie is the thing that's doing it. And I will say, even for Diana, I know that it seems sort of like morbid, and you never want to like, well, she's already dead. So like, you don't want to predict death. You don't want to predict death, but
no, don't predict death.
In retrospect, she kind of, not that Diana was like born to die, but like there are a lot of death markers in Diana's chart. And so even though it may seem like she, died too soon, or that she didn't end up like being redeemed for, a lot of the work that she did. Yes. And Harry and William, if you're watching, we are so sorry. And you obviously deserve your mom here. Okay. But here's the thing. She also was in a car without a seatbelt on, driving 100 miles an hour through Paris at 1:00 in the morning. I mean, this isn't someone who was,
The driver was really drunk too.
right. It's like, this isn't someone who was like, if you, she also was like, in her words, you know, like, how did she phrase it? Like,
The issue, I think, is that she didn't have any security with her, and there was no one really like protecting her, and that is why that happened. If she had had the proper protection that someone with her level of fame and her level of people following her around should have had, then that wouldn't have happened.
yeah, but you know what? She has her Chiron in Pisces. She has her Juno, her Athena in Pisces. She has all of this, her North Node, her Pluto, her Mars, her Uranus, her Lilith. This is all in the eighth house. This is sudden, like, this represents sudden death, like Mars. And I'm not that surprised by it. And
Okay, here's my question. When you are reading someone's chart, do you tell them if you see all that stuff in there?
no, because also you can't really know until, I mean, a lot of astrology is kind of like, it's like fun to practice as you go. And then it's interesting in retrospect. I mean, if she was my client, what I might say around the, you know, I might say, you want to be extra careful because, you know, there's fate and then there's free will. And then the way that our lives express is sort of this like watercolor between the two. So it's not that Diana was necessarily born to die young, but she was born to bring attention in a very Leo, fiery, performative, like me, like epic performance style. Like there was something was going to happen, whether she got in a car crash, stepped on a landmine, or even if it was just something in the news. I mean, even without her early death, what you're saying with like the woman that she called, you know, she kept calling and hanging up. It's like she wasn't really like, even though she was that Cancer, well, she was like, she was a Cancer Sun Mercury. So she like appeared to be interested in like safety and nurturing and mothering or whatever. She was also dreadfully bulimic. I mean, she didn't really value her life as much as she really valued her children's lives and her humanitarian efforts and other people's lives. So I
So
do,
she put other people above herself.
she put other people above herself. She put she put her own safety and her own happiness very low on the totem pole from the beginning of this whole story. And part of her purpose was to be this, you know, that Capricorn, that Saturn and Capricorn in the first house is like, she is representing a lot of the problems with authority, and she's representing a lot of the problems with fame, and her identity is wrapped up in, and in fact her you know, now RIP Diana, like she died, and this was part of the issue, that she was too public of a public figure without enough protection. And she was, I mean, in so many ways, that's one of the ways that she was illustrating this larger cultural issue with how we take care of people post divorce. I mean, so many things about the British royal family was brought to the surface in her entire existence there, from infidelity to security to keeping her title to, you know, I mean, all of it, to acceptance of Camilla. I mean, she really had to be a stand for herself in this public sphere. And in fact, the world, you know, she didn't survive, but hopefully she did change a huge amount of the way that, I mean, she's why Harry and Meghan were smart enough and strong enough to make such a big choice, because she was a precursor for this future that is going to change. Because at the end of the day, if you want to have a normal life, or you really want to make a difference in the world, or if you just want to be Black and you want to be Meghan Markle, you can't live in Buckingham Palace. That doesn't work as a lifestyle to be a British royal. So her death caused her children to think about things completely differently, and as a result, it could save her legacy. It could save her whole lineage.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is a lot of the same stuff that Kristen has gone up against with Hollywood and everything, because, you know, Hollywood and famous people, those are our royals in America, in my opinion. And she's been in, you know, exposing these things just by virtue of her own press coverage and the way that she's been treated and the way that she's been cast and the way that she's not been cast in certain things. Like, it also exposes the same issues within Hollywood of reluctance to change and, you know, hanging on to these really tired old beliefs and attaching stigma to things that don't need to have a stigma attached to them. So they really, the two of them really have had such similar paths thus far. And I do hope that you're right, that this is I feel like Oscar buzz for this for sure.
No, Oscar buzz 100%. I think this is career making for Kristen. And what's interesting too, just like you can just see in their charts, like their Marses are opposite each other, right? Like, so they're like, how do I put it? Kristen's driven to tell this story in a way that Bella Swan didn't turn her on so much. And these indie art house films didn't turn her on so much. This is Kristen. Kristen knows that this is her. It's like not her shot, but it kind of is like, this is Kristen's moment. She's going to take it. She's going to crush. Whoever the casting person is, they're also going to get an Academy Award for it because it is such a, I mean, the synastry in these charts is really remarkable. And that's not something, no casting director was looking at the astrology of Diana versus the other girls. But this is really like, there is a completion of a story happening here. I mean, look, to the point even that there isn't even a really good Diana movie. The Naomi Watts one is okay.
It's pretty bad.
There's no like good documentary. The Crown is getting sued. It's like, no, like we need a fucking film.
I feel like the Naomi Watts one is a classic example of how not to cast Diana, because they went for like like conventionally beautiful, conventionally feminine, very Anglo-centric blonde, and it just brought nothing to the table. It added nothing. It added no texture to the story, nothing interesting. Whereas with Kristen Stewart, it's like, oh, she's a queer actress. She's had some controversy. This is bringing some new layers to this that Diana would have appreciated, and that really, really, is in sync with what Diana was all about.
Could not, right. Because at the end of the day, too, even in terms of who they are as a person, like Naomi is pretty standard. I mean, she bought, like Hollywood bought her. She buys Hollywood. There's no controversy. Yeah. And she's like fine, but right, yeah. Like she's sort of might as well just be another one of the princesses. She's just fine. No, Kristen, right, has that same. Kristen and Diana both have a certain grit, like an edginess, a grittiness. They're rough around the edges in these particular ways that I think will bring a whole new light to this story, and it will help us understand what the purpose of, I don't think that I do think it's obviously a tragedy, but I don't think that Diana, I think Diana lived an extremely full life, and she did a lot more than a lot of people do in their times on earth. She left her children in a very good position. Ultimately, there is something to the Camilla Charles story as well, because at the end of the day, like, they really fucking love each other. And like Charles, like, even if there's a lot of feelings for the boys to process, they also do have an example of a parent who, like, they know what love is too.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad example. They're okay. Diana's impact was huge. She was she and Dodie seemed madly in love, and like that could have been a thing. But you know what? She was also about to marry him after only knowing him for 30 days.
I don't think that's true. I don't think she actually was about to marry him. Yeah, it's really a contested thing, because after they died in the crash, it was Dodie's dad who was saying, oh, this was the engagement ring. They were going to get married, blah, blah, blah. But there's not really any proof that was actually where it was going to go. So before she dated Dodie, Diana was dating Hasnat Khan, which he was the one depicted in the Naomi Watts movie. And I feel like the Dodie thing, a book that everyone should read if you want more information about Diana is Tina Brown's Diana Chronicles, because it's just incredible. It's like truly the best celebrity biography I've ever read. But she argues that not only was Dodie kind of a rebound guy to like maybe make Hasnat Khan jealous, but also she, like we alluded before, she needed major protection. She needed insane levels of like bodyguards and security, but she was too scared and paranoid of what the palace might find out about her and the stories they might plant about her in the media and things like that, where she said, no, I don't want bodyguards from the palace, because I don't know if they're a mole. I don't know if they're going to leak something. And that's how she found herself in the position of getting into a car with a drunk driver in Paris, randomly, without even planning to be getting a ride from this random guy who just worked at the hotel. Wasn't even a guy on Dodie's staff or anything. So basically what Tina Brown argues is like, yeah, I'm sure she liked Dodie and everything, but like also it just made it really convenient that he had the kind of infrastructure in his life for someone of her stature. She was so famous. It wouldn't have been possible for her to go and marry a guy like Hasnat Khan, because she wanted to keep doing all of her work, and Hasnat Khan didn't want to be famous, and it just wouldn't have ever worked. She could have only ever also married someone else who was like a megawatt star, or someone else who has an insane lifestyle, similar to Jackie Kennedy and Aristotle Onassis. So I don't know what got me on this topic.
No, I agree though. Well, basically just that, like, well, we're talking about Dodie, and like she wasn't going to marry Dodie, but like ultimately there was this larger issue of she just, like, it is a protection thing. She just wasn't protected. Nobody really cared. And as a result, she was in this like grossly irresponsible situation. And, I don't know. There are these like interesting conspiracy theories though too, where it's like, there's like the photographer that was like ahead of them, and there's like, and it's like,
I don't think any of it has anything to it.
It's all okay. So really, this was an accident. Like, this was an accident. It was a random thing. She, it was. What's interesting though too, is didn't she die in August?
Yeah, August 31st.
Okay, so August. This is Leo season. So we have Uranus, crazy things happening randomly, like that change everything. North Node, the purpose of her, that's what Uranus means.
I think that's funny because it's Uranus.
Uranus. I know, it's like surprise, Uranus. Then it's like her North Node, the purpose of her
everything once you go there. I think it's really funny.
No, that is what it is. No, literally, like, watch out for Uranus, because once something gets hit by Uranus or gets into Uranus, you'll never be the same.
The power imbalance is changed forever, as they said in the Up the Butt episode of Sex and the City.
Tops becomes bottoms and bottoms becomes tops, and it's beautiful. But that's really what this is, right? Like, we have Diana's North Node, her Lilith, her Uranus in the 8th house, which is death, which is things we try to hide, which is secrets, which is like sudden tragedy, karma. If it was in August, the sun this was her purpose. This was a part of why she was here. She was here to die in an extraordinarily fucked up, dangerous, sudden way. And I think that part of it was in order to, moving forward, her Pluto, what she was really here to transform was that Virgo energy, which is actually that like harvest. It's like, if you want to spend all the time planting a garden in the royal palace, then you actually have to make sure that it's cared for and tended to in a way that, and her Mars is there too, in a way that actually provides a harvest. So the fact that her children are still alive, and that they have children, and that one of them is actually living in LA and decided to, do a Megxit from the palace, is actually a huge part of why she was here, because it doesn't serve them to stay connected to the palace, actually. And it doesn't serve them to stay in, aside from just like the racism, there's nothing that anyone can really do from within the palace that actually is powerful and revolutionary, which I do think that Meghan and Harry are here to do. So I think that in a lot of ways, her untimely death set the stage for them to make bigger choices than they ever would have made had she been alive, and kind of just keeping this facade, or keeping this sort of like life going in a way that was like, yeah, but honor because she did seem to still honor the palace. I mean, she had respect for the family. She had respect for the Queen Mother. She loved her husband. She had respect for Charles in the end. She really didn't seem to be, her lack of like bitterness, and she could have trashed him publicly, and she really didn't.
Yeah.
She really didn't. She was a class act.
Well, there was one interview where shit really got real in a way that it usually doesn't regarding the monarchy, but it wouldn't
be the Martin Bashir interview.
Martin Bashir one, yeah, but it was like nothing compared to what she could have done. But yeah, and I think something else that her leaving the royal family set the stage for was for them to play ball with Meghan and Harry a little bit more when they did leave, because when Diana left, they went scorched earth. They said to her, your title's gone. She got an absurdly low divorce settlement based on, her level of fame and just the money it took to be her and live her life. Like, there is no moving to the country and getting away from it all once you're at that level. Like, they treated her really badly in that divorce. They didn't give her enough money. They didn't give her enough to live on. They didn't give an inch when she was alive. They really
didn't.
Yeah.
And they don't take any responsibility for it. She actually was like plucked out of nowhere to be put in this position. And then they
as a teenager.
And
they plucked her out. Yeah. And then the other thing is though, like the only time when the queen finally, I think, seemed to see how it needed to be was after she passed, and they decided finally after a few days to fly the flag at half-mast, because
a few days. That is so embarrassing.
Yeah, because their argument was, well, you only fly it at half-mast if it's a monarch or a former monarch who dies. And it's like, okay, the entire world is like losing their shit over this woman's death. Like, put the freaking flag at half-mast. Like, you can't just go by the book, by everything. And that was like the first time that I feel like they gave an inch to her or her legacy. And what's happening now is we're coming up to the 25th anniversary of her death this year. And William and Harry are unveiling a statue, and like a lot of different things are going to be going on. She's top of mind again because of The Crown and because of this movie. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the monarchy kind of copes with that, because it doesn't make them look good. No discussion of Diana makes the monarchy look good. It just doesn't. There's no little, well, they did do this. Like, no. So,
well, I guess like even to the point where thank God that she existed, because even the fact that Harry was allowed to marry Meghan is a result of his father's inability to marry Camilla. Like the fact that actually Diana was such a huge mistake for the palace in so many ways, because she sunned them, she out humanitarian them, she was so much more popular than them. People just adored her. She actually made a huge difference in the world, and she was a result, and her death is a result of this choice to actually try to control and manage who the children of the royals marry. If Charles had just been allowed to marry Camilla in the first place, we would have never had Diana or Harry or William. So I'm glad that it worked out. But it's like, there wouldn't have been an issue. This would have never been a thing. She wouldn't have married Andrew Parker Bowles. Like, there would have been a different trajectory completely if that was even in the cards for them. But the fact that like there was such a hard line on, you know, what was acceptable for the palace, and Diana was acceptable for the palace, and they had no problem killing her even while she was there. She could have died while she was in the palace of bulimia. I mean, they were killing her, and that, you know, so she wasn't like safe no matter what. She was not safe under any circumstance. There wasn't any.
No one was looking out for her.
Nobody,
because it was really stuck in this hierarchical way of thinking of, okay, there's one person at the top, and then this person and this person. And because you married in, you're above these people, but you're under these people. And you can never, ever be taking up any energy that could be going to the person at the top. And it's just like, I don't know if it's different now. I would think that maybe it is, they've softened a little bit, but yeah, we should probably wrap up.
I guess we could wrap up, and I'll send you this. And, you know, thank you for everyone who watches this after fact. I'm not even looking at I forgot to keep the YouTube up, so I don't even know if anyone's here or watching or chatting, but I'm going to say probably not. I don't know if anybody actually knew we were doing this, but what a pleasure, Molly. We will be back for more Divanation. I will send you this, and it will be posted on here. And okay, to be continued, though. What fun.
I know, it was very fun, and I'm so happy that we got to talk about all of this.
Same. And if people want to follow you or listen to more of Diva Behavior, where can they find you?
Diva Behavior is wherever you find your podcasts, and just follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Molly Mulshine. What about you?
I'm Sara Armour, so you can follow me at all the things at Sara Armour, but then also follow the Moonual on Instagram and on YouTube, and we do bi-weekly moon rituals every month on Zoom. They're private Zooms, but definitely join us. Molly, she rocked our last one, or she rocked two Zoomules ago, and she's now coming back as a staple because the people requested her. She is the people's princess when it comes to the Moonual, and that is not something I say lightly.
Oh my God, I'm so honored.
We needed a blonde with wispy bangs, and you know what? If it's not going to be Diana, we will take you.
Oh, wow, what a comparison. Okay, we should end it there. Can't get it.
Okay, goodbye all. Thank you. Later. Okay, cool. We did it.